You are lying in bed and the room is quiet but your mind is screaming. It hits you again like a physical blow to the stomach. That thing you said 5 years ago at a dinner party? That opportunity you walked past because you were too afraid to speak up. That moment when you could have been brave, but you chose to be safe. Your stomach drops and your chest tightens, and suddenly you are wide awake. You are living inside a memory that should not have this much power over you. You try to push it away and tell yourself it is pointless to think about something you cannot change. But the thought pulls you back, encircling like water going down a drain. You know logically that replaying this scene will not fix anything. Still, your brain keeps projecting a past that refuses to stay in the past. Some people spend their entire lives carrying these moments like stones in their pockets. Regrets become weights around their necks, growing heavier with every passing year. But others seem to learn how to turn regret into wisdom instead of punishment. They learn to make peace with who they were so they can be who they are. So why does the mind torment us with decisions we can never remake? And why do some people break free while others stay trapped in the loop? To understand regret, you have to understand what it was originally built for. Evolutionary psychology tells us that early humans needed regret to survive. If one of your ancestors ate a bright red berry and got violently sick, their brain needed to remember that mistake vividly. Pain etched the lesson into memory, so they would never touch that berry again. Regret was not cruel, it was functional. It was a survival mechanism designed to keep you from making the same fatal error twice. But that mechanism was built for simple, immediate dangers like poison or predators. Modern life is anything but simple. Now we regret complex things like relationships and career paths and moments of vulnerability. These decisions are emotional and unpredictable and often have no clear right answer. Yet your brain treats them with the same urgency it treats a survival threat. A missed opportunity feels like danger to your nervous system. A wrong choice feels like harm. And so the regret burns even when the threat is long gone. Psychologists distinguish between two very different types of ghosts that haunt us. There are regrets of action and regrets of inaction. Regrets of action are the things you did that you wish you hadn't. These hurt fast and they burn hot like touching a stove. You said the wrong thing or you made a mistake, and the embarrassment is sharp. But research shows that while these regrets are painful, they tend to fade over time. We apologize or we fix it or we rationalize it, and we move on. But regrets of inaction are different. These are the things you didn't do, the girl you didn't ask out, the job you didn't apply for, the trip you didn't take. Inaction hurts deep, and it has a half-life that lasts for decades. Research consistently shows that long-term regret is almost always about what we did not do. This happens because inaction leaves the mind wandering through endless possibilities. When you do something and it fails, you know the outcome and you can process the grief. But when you do nothing, you never know what might have happened. So your brain invents perfect scenarios to torment you with. This is what psychologists call counterfactual thinking. It is the creation of alternate versions of reality where everything worked out. You imagine the job you did not take as life-changing and fulfilling. You imagine the person you never confessed your feelings to as your soulmate. You imagine the city you never moved to as the place where you would have been happy. But here's the trap. None of those imagined lives have to deal with difficulties or disappointments or real-world complications. They are idealized stories your brain creates to fill the gap of the unknown. In your fantasy, the unchosen path has no traffic jams and no arguments and no boredom. And the more painful your present reality feels, the more attractive those imaginary lives become. You are comparing your messy, complicated reality with a polished fantasy that never existed. Sometimes the regret is justified. You hurt someone, or you betrayed your own values, or you made a choice you wish you hadn't. But even when regret is valid, the question is what you do with it. There is a profound difference between remorse and rumination. Remorse is active, and it moves you forward. It says, I can learn from this, and I will be different next time. Rumination is passive, and it keeps you stuck. It says, I deserve to suffer for this forever. Remorse strengthens you while rumination weakens you. Your brain often convinces you that refusing to forgive yourself is a form of virtue. It tells you that feeling miserable means you are a good person who cares. It tells you that if you punish yourself enough, you might somehow balance the cosmic scales. But self-punishment is not morality, it is avoidance. If you are busy hating your past self, you do not have to face the responsibility of your present self. It is a way of staying engaged with the problem so you never have to move on to the solution. And social media only magnifies this pain. You scroll through feeds and see people who seem to make perfect choices. You see highlight reels and flawless lives and endless success. So when you make a mistake, it does not just feel wrong, it feels like proof that you are falling behind. With every old post and every digital footprint you cannot escape, you relive versions of yourself you have already outgrown. But people who break free from regret understand something important about the nature of time. The past exists only in memory. And memory is not a recording, it is a story that changes each time you revisit it. Your regret is not about what happened, it is about how you are interpreting it right now. And that interpretation can evolve. Psychologist Kristin Neff's research shows that self-compassion leads to real growth while self-criticism shuts it down. When you treat yourself with the same humanity you offer others, your brain relaxes enough to learn. Shame triggers the fight or flight response, which actually shuts down the learning centers of the brain. Compassion opens them. This connects to narrative psychology and the stories we tell about our lives. You are constantly rewriting your life story. The person you were back then was not the person you are now. They had less experience, less knowledge, and less awareness. They were making the best choices they could with the tools they had at the time. You are judging a younger version of yourself with wisdom they had not earned yet. It is like blaming a child for not knowing how to solve a complex math problem they haven't been taught. Friedrich Nietzsche talked about Amor Fati, which means the love of fate. This is not just accepting your past, but embracing it as necessary. Because every choice, including your mistakes, shaped the person you are becoming. If you changed one moment, you would change everything that followed. You would not have the insights you have now. You would not have the resilience you have built. You would not be you. Chronic regret often reveals something deeper about your current state. Most people regret the past most intensely when they feel stuck in the present. The regret becomes an explanation for why they are unhappy now. If only I had done that differently, my life would be better. But this is rarely true. Regret becomes a shield that protects you from taking responsibility for the life you have today. Breaking free requires what psychologists call temporal distancing. You must learn to see your past self as a different person, not as the current you. Treat them like you would treat someone you care about. You would not shame a friend for a mistake they made 10 years ago. You would not expect perfection from a child. You would not punish them forever for what they did not know. So why do you do it to yourself? You also have to grieve the unchosen lives. Regret is actually a form of grief. It is grief for the life that could have been. It is grief for the version of you that no longer exists. And grief hurts, but it moves and it changes and eventually it heals. Regret does not move, it loops. To heal, you have to allow yourself to feel the sadness instead of rerunning the story. You have to say goodbye to the possibility of that other life. Existential philosophy reminds us that choice is always happening now. You do not live in the past. You do not live in the imaginary lives your mind creates. You live here. You live today. And today you get to choose who you become next. You can feel regret without becoming regret. You can remember a mistake without turning it into an identity. You can say, I wish I had done that differently, and still choose to move forward. That is clean regret, the kind that teaches you and sharpens you. Dirty regret is the story that tells you the mistake defines you. It tells you that you are ruined and that your life is decided. That is the story you must stop telling. In a world obsessed with perfection, releasing regret is an act of rebellion. It is choosing growth over punishment. It is choosing compassion over shame. It is choosing the present over the past. So if regret has ever ambushed you at 3 o'clock, know this. Your brain is not trying to torture you. It is trying to protect you with an outdated system that no longer fits your life. The regret is not happening to you, it is happening in you. And that means you have the power to change the story, not the past but the story. That is the psychology of regret, not something to erase or suppress, but something to transform. Because regret reveals what you care about. It shows you what matters. It shows you what you value. It shows you who you want to become. If you regret not speaking up, it means you value your voice. If you regret hurting someone, it means you value kindness. If you regret wasting time, it means you value life. The question is not how to fix the past. It is how to live now in a way your future self will thank you for. Forgive the person you were. Honor the person you are. That is how regret becomes your teacher, not your torture. You have to realize that you are not a machine that is supposed to function perfectly. You are a biological entity designed to learn through error. Every scar on your psyche is a map of where you have been. And every regret is a signpost pointing to where you need to go. The mind holds on because it thinks there is still something left to solve. But the puzzle of the past cannot be solved, it can only be released. Release does not mean forgetting. It means setting down the heavy bag you have been carrying for miles. It means looking at your hands and realizing they are free to pick up something new. It is a terrifying freedom because once you let go of the excuse of the past, you are responsible for the present. But it is the only freedom that matters. Imagine yourself 10 years from now, looking back at this moment. Will you regret the time you spent regretting? Will you wish you had started living sooner? You have the chance to break the cycle right now. By taking a breath. By acknowledging the pain without letting it drown you. By accepting that you did what you did and now you are doing something else. The narrative is yours to write. And the next chapter does not have to be a repetition of the last. It can be a redemption. It can be a new beginning. It can be whatever you decide it to be once you stop looking back. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Visit it to learn, but do not build your home there. Your home is here in the breath you are taking right now. In the choice you are making right now. In the person you are being right now. Let the ghosts fade. Let the shadows lengthen and disappear. Turn your face toward the light of the present. And walk forward.